Hey, welcome back to the What If Universe, and we are back with the What If YouTuber interviews for 2022. And for today, I've brought on Sacred Saiyan. You can say hi, I guess.
Hey guys, what's up?
So you're in the unique situation where the previous interview failed. Would you like to give a brief synopsis of what happened between that original interview that I lost till now, kinda?
Yeah, I can't remember how many subscribers I had when we did the original interview, but I mean, it's actually a huge coincidence that the day that we scheduled to record this interview, I hit 20k today. So that's like a huge coincidence, which is kind of cool.
I believe you're at 15k probably when we originally scheduled it.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's that.
And then obviously was hacked like 2 times, 3, 2, I think, 2.
Oh wow, I thought it was that one time. But
Yeah, there was one, and then it happened the second time. But then the second time, I was just like, okay, well, I know the exact way to get it back now, so I got it back in like a day or two. And then obviously the totallynotmark stuff has happened, so Toei bot strike again. But other than that, I don't really think much has changed.
Yes. I guess we'll start things off with a proper introduction. So would you like to introduce yourself and what your channel's about?
Yeah, so I am Sacred Saiyan. I do Dragon Ball What Ifs. So recently, I've been starting to do some crossover What Ifs, like my What If Goku was in My Hero Academia and What If Goku was in Star Wars series. And I'm planning on doing more in the near future as well. And maybe some just like ones without any Dragon Ball characters in them as well, but only time will tell. And yeah, that's pretty much all I do.
That's pretty nice and whatnot. But anyways, we have 2 big things we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing here the totally not marked thing, since I'm not a drama channel, Sacred's not a drama channel. But however, what they're doing is relevant to the content we make, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I do want to talk about the hacking incident, since we haven't had anyone on the show get hacked besides, I guess, Anime Sage, but technically hasn't been interviewed yet. So would you like to talk about your hacking experience and how you felt during that time?
Yeah, so basically, I'll just explain the rundown of how I got hacked. So I have this business email that I put in the description of all of my videos for obviously sponsorships and stuff. And then I was checking through my emails and I saw this email from a company called Pixel Art or something, saying they would like me to obviously promote their app, which is basically similar to Photoshop. And then after installing software, which probably shouldn't have done, that led into that entire email, not the business email, but the email to my YouTube channel getting hacked. And then obviously they changed all the stuff, so I was locked out of my YouTube channel. And obviously at the time, I was heartbroken, losing all that work. It was a year of work just all down the drain. And I was obviously deeply upset. It took multiple days of me just trying to even find stuff to get in contact with YouTube. Then obviously I finally did through Twitter, and then I did some appeals, had some email conversations, and eventually I got the channel back. But then stupidly I then did practically the exact same thing a second time, but that time I actually just obviously I knew the exact way to get my channel back. So then obviously it took me a day or two, but then I got it back again. But the second time I obviously wasn't as worried, since I already went through it once and knew how to get my channel back.
For more of a mid-size What If YouTuber, how do you feel how YouTube handled your situation?
I think they handled it really well. They were great with helping, explaining the steps on how to get the channel back, and then obviously they helped me get the channel back. So, and they responded to me through Twitter and email. So they was really good for the situation, I would think, especially because of how quickly they helped get my channel back.
And do you have any advice for people who do get hacked or happen to be looking through sponsorships and how to be careful?
Well, I would just say one, do not like download any like. It's fine downloading stuff from like sponsorship stuff, like if it's like a game or something. But there's like these certain files. I can't remember the exact file type, but it's just like terrible to install. And also, if you have been hacked already, then the best way to get in contact with YouTube is definitely through Twitter, because like that, like even the the email that they hacked, right? That was like linked to my Twitter, so I couldn't even get into that. So I made an entirely new Twitter account, 0 followers, 0 posts, and everything. And even then, YouTube like still responded to me on Twitter. So Twitter is definitely the best way to get to YouTube. And even though it might take like a couple hours or like a day, they will respond to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate how much YouTube actually cares for smaller creators because people are like, oh, I just lost my account. But I think a lot of times people either don't provide enough information with their situation or they're just taking it too emotionally when they should just try to be calm the best they can.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I also did have to give some information proving that I did have previous access to the email. But I mean, if you obviously previously had access to the email, you should have the information you need. And YouTube obviously does care about the small creators, because if not, they wouldn't be responding to a Twitter account with literally one post, which is atting YouTube, asking for them to help with their small YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that's something to me that is very underrated. The fact that it was a new Twitter, they had every right not to believe it potentially.
Yeah.
And they still chose to respond, which surprised me even to an extent.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see. Were you able to recover your Twitter, or is that still kind of gone?
Oh yeah, because after I recovered the email, obviously YouTube also helped me get in contact with Google to like get the rest of the stuff back. So even then, like they went even further beyond like even helping me get in touch with Google to like get the rest of the stuff with the email back. So like people really underestimate how much YouTube does care. But yeah, I did get the Twitter back in the end.
Let's see. I think that's all I had for that question in particular, and I guess I'll ask a bit more about your channel now. So, have you seen anything different since the hack with your new content? Has it been promoted just as much, or anything you think that has changed?
I think I've definitely like improved in my content since the hacking. Like, for example, with Goku's in My Hero Academia video, like I actually started to see myself improving my editing through that as well. And then even though obviously like I was hacked for like a week or two, when I came back to being able to upload again, my views didn't like really drop. So I really appreciated that my subscribers would still wait. And then when they did hack it, like obviously they like changed the name. They did this like stream that got it banned and everything, but still, no one like there was like I think like 10, 20 like people that unsubscribed. But other than that, that still didn't really change after the hack. And then obviously I've actually started growing more after the hack, so I think it didn't really affect the channel too much.
That's good to hear. I remember while you were getting hacked, like, what kind of inspired you to try to change up more of your content? Was it because of that? You thought you'd try new, different type of content for your second channel, I guess now is what it is?
Well, yeah, because I had it as like Sacred Saiyan 2 before or something, where I did the first Wolf Goku's in My Hero Academia, and I wasn't like the hack didn't really like push me to change my content. It was more of just like I was already gonna do that for 15,000 subscriber special. I remember now that was I literally like just hit 15,000 subscribers before I got hacked. That just like made it even more annoying for me. But yeah, so I don't really think the hack did like push me to change my content. It sort of just like naturally happened over time. But yeah, I don't really think it is the like sole reason I decided to change up my content a bit.
Yeah, I thought I might as well ask in case that if that did affect anything. But
Yeah.
What do you think you've learned over time making content? Like, what's the biggest thing that you can think that helped you improve?
The biggest thing I've learned over making content over time is obviously I've learned how to improve my storytelling and like script writing, of course. But I've also learned like better ways of like keeping the viewers engaged during the video and actually have them want to click on the video to begin with. And I've been using these like I've had these Chrome extensions for a while that have also like helped me out with like my tags and stuff, top keywords that have been in my videos, the trends for just like Dragon Ball What Ifs as a whole, and I think they've been really useful in helping me grow my channel. And I think if people like more people use them, then they would see how their channel could grow from them as well.
It's understandable. Something I was interested in asking is, with the Dragon Ball like anime gone for so long, do you think that has had any resident impact on What If content made around them?
I definitely think it has, since obviously, like for most What If series, until like the manga continue with like the Moro and Granola arc, like there was always that like end point of like the Tournament of Power, a series just comes to an end. So like most people wouldn't really continue on past that just because simply there was nothing left of the story to continue. And it also just like really, because the anime didn't continue, it just like shrunk the possibilities on what you could do for like a What If, because obviously there was no new ideas that could be made since there was no new content.
Do you think that's possibly caused like oversaturation with Dragon Ball What Ifs lately?
I feel like it definitely could have, but even still, Dragon Ball, like the Dragon Ball With community is still like going really strong. I feel like even if there was a bit of an oversaturation of it, I don't think the community is really going to just like stop watching as many, because there's so many interesting stories, even though obviously there's so many people making them now. Like just there isn't as many who actually like know how to make them like properly, if you know what I mean.
That's understandable. Something else I was interested in asking is that, do you think it's possible with the What If community we could end up something somewhere similar to how the Reddit community did, where you have these like robots just reading scripts essentially?
I've actually seen a couple of like channels with that already, which like it's just a robot or like Google or something reading out the script, and then obviously they just have one thumbnail on the screen the entire video. And obviously I really hope that I don't see more of that, because that just like really would make the Dragon Ball What If community a lot worse, because there'll just be so much less effort put into the videos. And like even for the viewer experience, if like more and more they see more and more of that, they'll sort of just like generalize the Dragon Ball With community to all be like that. And so I really hope that we don't see that, but it is definitely a possibility.
That's understandable. I guess one thing that I've been particular focused on is like the evolution of these types of channels. So you see like these Reddit channels, then you get these like story time, like anime channels. You know, like the animation's horrible. Like they're like,
Yeah, the
simple
animation
enough.
is terrible. Yeah.
And what I'm thinking potentially is that not necessarily they would take What If ideas, since there's not very many like text ones that exist even to begin with, but I think fan fiction might be the biggest target. I think it's gonna happen.
Oh, the thing is,
I've seen several like either plagiarist channels, channels that do that text speech thing. They just take a fan fiction, toss it in, and that's the video. Like nothing else amazing's done, like editing wise or anything.
What? So literally, all they do is just like have a robot read out someone's fan fiction and just upload it.
That, or another person reads it and they just title it as a What If. Like for example, me and Anime Sage found this guy called, I believe, Anime King. That's what his name was at the time. And what he did, he stole fanfiction, retitled it as a what if, and just read it. And Sage, literally on stream, was able to find the exact fanfiction with the help of some of the chat and prove that he actually wasn't producing original content at all. Basically.
Yes. People who do that are actually just so scummy. Like, they're just taking someone else's work that they put time and effort into, and then they're just claiming it as their own just to get like a small amount of YouTube fame or whatever they think they can get from just stealing people's content. But honestly, I just think it's disgusting that people do that. And if anyone is watching this and does do that, honestly, just stop. Like, the whole point of What If is that it's your own ideas, that like your own stories that you create for other people to see. The whole it literally defeats the purpose of making a What If it's literally just someone else's ideas and story in it instead of your own.
I mean, to me, at minimum, you should at least credit the person and make sure you're transparent. It is a fanfiction at that point.
Exactly. Like, people like Mondo Cool, he like shows off people's fanfiction. I feel like that's cool because he's like, one, he actually promotes their fanfiction. He obviously shouts them out, and like he doesn't claim it to be his own. He doesn't just like retitle it to be like a what if or something.
And I think the other important thing is the amount of what's the word? I think effort he puts in his videos. Like, the editing's really clean. He tries to voice act different characters in a unique way, so it gives it its own type of feel compared to the original work.
Yeah, definitely. Like, see, that's the thing. Like you said, like, the effort he puts in, like, you can actually show he is actually trying to make it different, at least somewhat, so his audience can enjoy it more than if they were just reading it. But for those that literally just have a robot or someone else just reading someone's fanfiction, there's just no effort whatsoever.
I guess something that I wanted to get into now is, because we're speaking of like transformative works, I do want to talk about the totallynotmark situation, since it is relatively important to the type of content we do. So how do you react initially when the stuff with that was going down?
Honestly, I was just disappointed because, you know, it already happened before with like Saiyan Scholar, Damon and stuff, and then to see it happen again with an even bigger creator, like, it really shows that they're not like just going for the smaller people. They will go for anyone. Any channel is at risk for it. They're not just gonna go for, like, even Saiyan Scholar, yeah, he's got like 90k subs, but like, nobody thought they was going to go for like people with hundreds of thousands, and then obviously they hit totallynotmark, and then there was a bit of fear there, like, because if it could happen to him, then I mean, it could happen to me, could happen to you, could happen to anyone who makes the same style of content as we do.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people miss is that the only other time something that super major kind of happened was, I think, originally when TFS lost Dragon Ball Z Abridged the first time, and so many people forget because they weren't around during the time, but I remember it well enough, and it's kind of sad because after they eventually got everything appealed, it seemed like that, like, a lot of their heart kind of just died. And the thing is, like, this has been happening for a long time. Anyone who does like the Abridged series, this is the risk you're taking. And even the one that I do is Super Saiyan Science, like, we only recently got the older episodes of GT Abridged back up, like, on his channel right now, because they kept getting taken down the other channel they're on. So it's kind of sad because it's like we're trying to put really good effort into it, try to put our own spin and parody the original work. Because GT, there's so much stuff that you can make fun of and have fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, similar to original Z Abridged, like, as they've shown, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And then I can obviously understand like why TFS like lost their heart, because they did put so much effort into their DBZ Abridged, and then just for it to get taken down, for like a while before they could finally get it back up. I could understand why they would just give up, since they would be at risk of, say they continued it, that can just happen all over again.
Right, and the thing that I'm very concerned about is the way how Mark talked in later videos, because it seems like he really just wants to leave Toei stuff alone, and I can respect his decision, but at the same time, I'm afraid if Toei thinks that they can use that to just demoralize content creators, that we're going to see more of it happening, even if people can get their videos back up.
Yeah, definitely, because if they realize that people are just going to stop fighting it, they're just going to let it happen, then it could become even like more common than it already is starting to become, because they will just think there'll be no consequence for it whatsoever.
Well, the thing is, like, Toei could feel like they're getting like the emotional victory out of people, because they'll think people eventually quit in that aspect, despite what content they're doing is in regards with fair use, typically, or whatever the UK or Australia or Canada or whatever other country has similar laws. Because I know some don't, and that's kind of iffy. I kind of feel bad for those people.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, in the UK, those like laws are basically just the exact same as those other places.
Yeah, I do think what's more interesting is I've been watching stuff happening for Australia and their internet laws, and they're getting kind of scary. Like, they're reaching a point where if the government wants to unmask someone, they can, basically. So if you have a private online identity, it can just remove that from you if they think that they want to.
They can actually do that.
You didn't know?
No, I'm not very well versed in just like the politics of other countries, but if like the Australian government's actually doing that, that is just like, why would they do that to people? Like, there's obviously privacy is like a huge thing.
Politicians in Australia have been getting quote unquote trolled a lot, and I guess culturally it's treated a lot differently from my understanding. So what they did is that they said it could be valid as harassment now, and they can unmask people for it. So that's kind of iffy, in my opinion.
Yeah, so basically they was getting trolled too much on like Twitter, so they decide they can just completely remove people's privacy. That's just unfair. Like, okay, someone like, that's like saying, oh, if someone just like commented on my video saying they didn't like it, I can just like leak their address, dox them. Like, you just can't do that.
I mean, to a degree, content creators have some access to regional stuff, but when you have a large audience where we're at, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't have that much data, really, no matter how hard you dig in.
Yeah, but still, just being able to remove someone's privacy completely just because they, like, obviously they either don't disagree with your opinion or they like say something like how they don't like you or something. It's just definitely not something I think should happen in like other places, let alone Australia.
Yeah, I think, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've been questioning lately over there. I think they also passed a law, this was like 2020, yeah, so 2 years ago, they passed one for, they wanted Google, Facebook, and other large social media platforms to pay news outlets for having search results, and I kind of find that questionable because, like, if I wanted to read Australian news, like, I could click on the link and pay for it, but if I don't, like, from like a synopsis I see like a Google search, I don't think like Google has to pay them for that, at least in my personal opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see why like Google would have to pay them for that.
But I will say what was funny is that Facebook decided, at least initially, they just chose not to show Australian news anymore. But then they realized there's problems with that because of weather and other stuff. So eventually they bent the knee on that end. But I do find it scary, though, that other countries could try to bully like social media platforms in this way and try to do laws to get around like how they're structure. Because the thing is, like, if you do it too much, you're just gonna ruin it. And so many people have established like jobs, like unironically, like on stuff like Twitter or like Instagram or OnlyFans or YouTube or Twitch. There's like plenty of them. They're out there, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of scary.
Yeah, because that's like people's entire livelihood. Some people like are using social media to afford their rent and food, and even then, some of them like can barely be able to afford that because of social media. So stuff like this happening, that could literally like cost people like livelihoods. They could be forced into the streets. It's just not a good thing whatsoever.
It's just something that I think about time to time. It's like some people say, "Oh, it's like you're supporting the company." It's like the thing is, like, companies need certain things to run. If you start tearing them apart enough, they won't work anymore. If anyone's profiting off them, including like myself or Anime Sage or Masako X or like anybody, it's like you're taking away their livelihoods potentially, and that's very dangerous to think about.
Yeah, definitely is. From what you're telling me, Australia is just not going in the right direction right now.
From what it seems like, because a while back I considered like potentially moving out there at one point, but the thing is, like, since around like 2019, I've noticed a lot of odd changes with laws and stuff. It's like, as someone who's like in America, obviously, like that's pretty public knowledge for people. Like, there are certain things that you understand as an American, whether it's like a privilege or a freedom. But the thing is, like, certain ones are important, because if you can't have like freedom of speech, for example, you can't have things like fair use technically, because it's basically an opposite of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but something else I was interested to talk about is, what do you think separates like fan fiction from like what if content?
That's a very good question. See, I haven't like really fan fiction. I don't. Oh, actually, I need to think about this for a second, because like it depends. Because I've seen some people, like, it's very confusing for me, because I see like some people just like they say like they have both a what if and fan fiction in the title, so just very confusing to me. I feel like the difference
think
of
Blaze Monkey has done.
Yeah, and that's probably the one I'm thinking of. But I feel like I assume fan fiction was just obviously they make like much bigger changes than a what if. Because like what if, obviously it's just like altering like one event that just changes everything. But fan fiction, I feel like it just like branches off a bit more than a what if does. But other than that, I'm not really 100% certain on the difference between the two.
That's understandable, because I know certain people, like around a generation where fanfiction.net was the most popular type of site to do content similar to that. And then there's some people who are around like now where they don't understand the difference between either, so content can get very murky depending on style. But I think that's something that's kind of down to each creator, I guess, to an extent, like how much they want to throw in.
Yeah.
I think something that's people forget a lot of the time is satire, because while it's fairly rare in our community, there is many times where I've injected like stuff that would not happen in a what if, but it's meant for comedic effect in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen some of those you're on about, like from your channel specifically. I feel like what if Chi-Chi died in childbirth or something? I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yes, that one. That one has been memed over Twitter, and people who don't watch the series have no clue like what in the world happens in that what if, because it's that insane with how me and Dragonstar did that.
Yeah, so that...
Because it goes from a story where Chi-Chi dies in labor to a story about Raditz sympathizing with Gohan losing his mom and end up turning good because of that.
Well, I mean, you gotta turn Raditz good somehow. I mean, everyone loves Raditz, like, come on.
Well, the idea was to explore a sense of the butterfly effect, but also inject like current memes at the time, because everyone liked Masako X's version of like Raditz turning good. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's gonna be part of the story element, and we're just gonna throw a bunch of jokes that involve him, but also take it somewhat seriously with Gohan's character development. That's kind of where it went in a sense.
Yeah, it's like 50-50. Like, some, like, actual animes do stuff like that. Like, they have, like, they're very comedic with, like, some characters, and then they're just, like, with others, they're just, like, very serious.
That does bring me a good question, though. Do you think other What If content creators are taking concepts too seriously?
Well, I wouldn't say they take it. I guess it really just depends on the person and how serious they want to go. I don't think there's a too serious for a what if, because obviously every what if like creator is different in the way they make their what ifs. Like, obviously with what ifs, I think like you should still just like have fun with them. You know, like you don't need to make it as if like they were like this is the actual anime. Because obviously it's a what if, the whole point is that it isn't like what actually happens. So, but then obviously there are other people who just make it as serious as possible as if it was the actual anime. And I mean, I enjoy their content as well, because obviously it's interesting to see what may have actually happened. But then I don't think you don't have to take it serious.
I mean, that's how I kind of feel about it, because there's a lot of people who want to be like overly critical about people who don't take things seriously, but I think it really depends like what you're watching. Like, from the title alone, like, yes, you could take the title that me and Dragonstar did seriously, but at the same time, like, who's going to do that realistically as a what if scenario? And that's how we felt about it. It's like, no one else is really gonna do this, most likely. That's how he felt. So he just like, we're gonna make it a big joke, and if someone wants to take it seriously down the line, they can. Like, that's how he felt about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. Like, I haven't seen any other what if Chi-Chi died during childbirth, so I mean, clearly your point was valid. So
Yeah, I think some people should consider that. Like, if you have an idea that doesn't sound too great on paper, just do something that I did. Just make it a big joke to an extent, so people can enjoy it for the humor of where you take the story.
exactly, and I think that's like, even like ideas not like that. If you just have an idea, but you're not sure if it'll work, just try it out. It's a what the whole like it's a what if. It's your story. You can make it however you want. So if you think the idea may not work, for all you know, that could just be one of the best series you ever make, because even though you aren't sure if it'll work, you still really want to make it, and then you actually do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Something else I wanted to ask is, what do you think about the current scape of what if thumbnails? Because recently I feel like so many of them are kind of like the same these days.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like, I used to just basically I just used to basically steal Coffee's style, not gonna lie, like back ages ago. I'm actually trying to look for my channel at how long ago it was. It was, yeah, okay, like a year ago, I used to just basically have Coffee style, which was just like completely stolen, I admit, and I wish I made a like newer style sooner. But yeah, I definitely feel like so many of the like what ifs nowadays, like I see their thumbnails are just so similar, which kind of just like say they're all on the same idea as well. It's just you aren't sure which one will actually be better, because the whole point of a thumbnail is so like the audience will like sort of know, because if there's a bad thumbnail, then you can assume the rest of the video's quality will be at around a similar level. But then if everyone's thumbnails are the exact same, you won't really know which one would be better for you personally to watch.
So you think that a major game for the what if community is basically the thumbnail game as an extent?
Yeah, definitely. Because if everyone else like doing the same idea as you has very similar thumbnails, but your thumbnail is the one that stands out, then people will be clicking on your video, not theirs.
I like that reasoning. So, I guess another important element that I like to ask is that if someone wants to start making what ifs, do you think the audio is more important than the video editing? Because I personally get two different answers. I get an answer where people say like, "Oh, the editing's better because people can watch it longer," but then for my answer, I always say the audio because I at least feel like something has to be tolerable to listen to for like 30 minutes or 15. Like, you know?
Yeah. I feel like I would have to agree with you, it's the audio, because I actually have had a lot of comments just saying they listen to the what if like in the background while they're doing something, so they're not even seeing the editing, they're just hearing the audio. So if your audio's bad and then people are just trying to listen to it in the background, they don't even see the editing, then there's kind of no point like for that editing to be like better than the audio, if you know what I mean.
I like that. Alright, it makes sense to me. I guess something else I wanted to ask is, do you ever reuse edits that you have used in previous videos before?
What's it? Well, I don't do it from previous videos, but I do it from like earlier in the video. So if I like do like some editing earlier in the video and then I'm just like, okay, it's just gonna be quicker if I just copy and paste this here, then I probably like I don't do it all the time, but it is definitely something I do since it just speeds up the editing process. But I kind of just like delete all the editing files after I finish editing. So I can't exactly like use like editing from previous videos in the newer ones by doing it like that.
I will say that I use previous videos, like if I'm doing a recap, I'm willing to trim down like the original video it's from to do the recap and use a filter, because I feel like, one, I feel like you should have watched the original video first anyways, but two, if you need the recap, then it's kind of there, and I kind of like that for people, you know?
Yeah, well, I just literally just don't even do any recaps in my like parts. Like if I'm on part 3 and it's the start of the video, I'm not telling you what happened in the other parts. You're gonna have to go check them out yourself. Like they ain't getting away with just starting on part 3, or else they're just gonna have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's a very divisive thing for each person, because I think recaps, in my opinion, are important because if you're doing, like, for example, with One Piece, I'm doing a One Piece collab, what if, with Shonoji. Because there's so much stuff that happens in One Piece, I feel like it's important to include stuff from previous parts, at least, because, like, if you need to remember, like, the character's motivation, like, from the first part, to explain what they're doing in the second part, I think that's important, you know? And any other events, like, you change, to an extent, it's, like, important. I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right in that aspect, but just for mine, I obviously haven't done any content on like a show like One Piece, which I still haven't been able to watch since Funimation doesn't have One Piece, which annoys me, but that's besides the point. And since obviously I always like finish a series before starting a new one, other than recently where I'm doing like 2 series at a time, like one series for the Friday video and then another series for the Sunday, and then I just do both of them continuously until they both end. But since I do them just so close together, I suppose it's kind of easier for the audience to remember what happened in the previous part compared to people. I feel like a lot of the bigger what ifers especially, they just do like a part 1 to a series, and then like say a couple weeks later after doing a bunch of different series, they'll come back to that series again, which would obviously since they had so many different ideas in between, they wouldn't be able to remember it as easily.
Yeah, because I feel like with me, since my schedule is very limited since I started editing for other people, it makes sense to me to do a recap, because if I upload only once a week, then it's good to kind of remind people it's been at least a week since I watched the last video.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I because like I said, I only do I do 2 videos per week. So basically, I have the same thing as you really. Like there'll only be like 1 episode of the series per week, since obviously I do 2 at a time now. But even so, I see your point. A recap would definitely be useful, but I mean, I don't think it's needed, especially for like the kind of what ifs I do, like the style I do them.
I get that. Something else I was interested about, when you're, let's see, like when you're self-promoting yourself, like your social medias and stuff, do you think that's important to do at the beginning of the video, or more towards the middle or like end, kinda?
That's the thing. I've actually been like sort of changing that recently, not of promoting the social media. For promoting the social media, I always do that just like at the beginning, because that's when obviously like most of the audience is there, because like at say like a midpoint during the video, like by that point, like there's a decent portion of the audience that drops off just because of how like engagement works. So I do that normally at the beginning, but I also I used to put sponsors like at the beginning as well, but then I've decided to now put them at the end of the video, just simply so, because one, I premiere my videos, meaning if they're watching it live, they can't skip past it. So it's just kind of more annoying for the viewer, which could just lead them to leaving the video before the video like even starts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can understand that. Something else I wanted to ask you about is like, when you're dealing with like burnout what if, since there's many that could sound very similar, you might be doing around the same time to an extent, like how you deal with that?
Honestly, I just keep going, because even though like there's so many similar like what ifs out there, and you know you can feel a bit burnt out sometimes, I just keep pushing ahead, because that's like the best thing for me about having a upload schedule, is that I always have to push myself to do it. Like I can't just like let myself like stop for a week, because I'm the type of person that if like I'm like relax for something for a bit, I'll just be like, you know, I'll just take a couple days. I will just end up going from a couple days to a week to 2 weeks, and then that's why I like kind of have an upload schedule, just so like I push myself, like I need to get this out today. I can't like slack off, because if I do, then I'll just keep doing it.
What motivated you to create like an upload schedule? Because I know with certain creators that are even like bigger and smaller, and you don't have one for whatever reason.
Well, like I just said, it's just one, to just push myself, because I actually like basically I like at the size I'm at now, like I'm like medium sized whatever, there are literally people who will be waiting for me to upload. Say I set the premiere like at the beginning of the day and it uploads at the end, there will be people waiting that entire day just to see. I love my community. I respond to every single comment, just because I know if they weren't there, then obviously I wouldn't be here. And I feel like I not only do it for myself to like motivate myself to upload, but I also do it for them, so there's some like stability in the relationship with the community.
Yeah, I understand. Something else that I was kind of interested about. I was kind of curious, what do you think about an idea of if like a content creator, like let's say someone wanted to do like what ifs on Twitch, for example, and they started doing a style similar to like what Moscow X does, how successful do you think that'd be?
I'm not sure. I don't think it would do too well on the like if they're doing on Twitch. Obviously, it's a live format, which makes it a lot harder to like grow the audience. Since obviously after your stream ends, unless there's like a VOD or something, people aren't going to be able to see that content afterwards, and like there probably won't be people just like searching up on like Twitch for like what ifs. So I just don't think it would
maybe
do too well.
YouTube would do better, possibly.
YouTube it would do better because one, after the stream's ended, the stream could just like stay up on YouTube. So if people were still like typing up for what ifs, their live stream would still appear like a regular video would. So if they was doing it on YouTube, then I feel like that'd definitely be a lot more successful.
Yeah, because I was always thinking the possibility, because with what if content, I feel like there's gonna be, I don't think there'll be a ceiling with its creativity, but I'm curious as like a main format, if someone ever picks up like the live stream format and just do like clips for each what if scenario. Like I'm very curious, like one day once we see someone who actually does that, because there's some people who do like podcasts like Masako, and I think Karthu and Spud did a couple of streams together. I think Smug also did stuff with Geeks for Fun back in the day, but the only one that's still around, it seems like, is Masako on a consistent basis. Because I don't know many other like what if related podcasts going on, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to be fair, there is definitely the audience for them, as seen with Masako, so I could definitely see more people starting to do them. Maybe not in the near future, but definitely in the future. And if they do, then I feel like they would just be like opening themselves up to like a brand new audience, I'd say. Since like there's an audience for like the style we do now, and then there's also that like extra audience for that style.
Yeah, I think that's something that when people ask me what type of content I should do, it's like, if you don't have like the greatest PC in the world, but you have really decent internet, I would consider the live stream format, because even though you might be starting by yourself for a little bit, you could eventually get guests and whatnot and make that like your appeal to an extent.
Yeah, and then if you also have a schedule for your live streams, you could begin to build like an audience of consistent viewers, which obviously would start off small, but like the longer you do it, obviously the larger that audience will become.
And the thing is, like, your content over time would get a lot better to an extent, because you would have an audience directly watching you that could help give feedback potentially if they actually know like a good amount about what ifs, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like live streaming, it's actually just like a lot more relaxing, because when you're recording a video, like you're literally just talking to a screen, but then when you're streaming it, like you can actually see the audience there, like watching it while you're saying it.
Do you think people would be more open to mistakes with the live stream? Because I think people would be.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously the live stream, you can't like just edit out when you like make a mistake, because when I record, personally, I make like a bunch of mistakes, which I obviously have to cut out for the final product. But obviously when you're live streaming, you can't do that, and I feel like most people do understand that even when recording, people make mistakes, but they just cut it out. So on stream, I feel like definitely people would be a lot more easy on them when they make mistakes.
When you're recording, do you like do the script in one go, or do you read it multiple times? Is there a way you prefer to do it?
When I'm recording, I just literally just have the script on my screen, and then I just read it out. And then obviously, if I make an error, I most likely just like repeat the sentence that I made the error in, and not much more than that.
Yeah, I will say what I've done recently, instead of reading the script all at once, I switched to a format where I read like individual like sections of the video and then edit it into a thing. If I know something's missing, I fix it once I have a good majority of it edited by that point, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that does make sense, but just I've been doing it I've been doing it this way since like literally my first ever video, so I just
I will
sort
say
of
my
stuck with it.
version is a lot more tedious because what you have to do is basically you're editing each individual audio file as well. So
Yeah,
even
that
though you
would
can have
also be
time to
annoying.
edit, if you need to switch and do something else, which is why I do it, because I get bored editing like a single strand of audio. Like there's multiple recordings. So a while back I was trying to read for a fan fiction, and like unfortunately I'll have to tell the person like I just can't format it into a video. But what kind of happened was I read the whole thing within multiple sections. The problem is the editing for it would just take me way too long, and that's kind of where it is. Like, and this was from like last year when I recorded all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that is also actually a problem about having an upload schedule, because like if you're thinking of like wanting to edit something, but then if you think it'll take too long, then you might not do it, which could make like the editing just worse overall for people that have an upload schedule.
Yeah, I will say more recently with the update videos, I've been trying to avoid like saying exact dates for when stuff's getting done, but I am saying like whatever's being like written stuff in production basically, so people can have an idea. I'm not just loafing around, but at the same time understand that there's multiple stuff in production due to the fact my content style kind of switched from me doing stuff individually to rather trying to get other content creators to engage with me and enjoy the process of making what ifs and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I said, as long as you're giving them like an idea, like I am working on something right now, but then obviously you don't want to like give yourself a specific time where you say you're going to upload, because then obviously, like I said earlier, it can like make your editing more sloppy since you just won't have the time to do everything you want to do. I think that's definitely a good thing for channels like yours.
Yeah, I think that's just how it is for the most part.
Yeah.
Do you ever end up in situations like that where you feel like you promise your audience something, but then you feel like the end product isn't as great as you wanted it to be, or you kind of like miss a deadline sometimes?
There has been a couple, because the thing is, not only do I have like a specific day I upload, there's also the specific time the video gets uploaded on that day. And there's definitely been a couple days where I've either like not been able to upload it on that certain day due to like editing issues or something other, and then obviously like there is like the sense of like I did let some people down because they were expecting a video on that day. They was waiting for the video, and then obviously I couldn't deliver on that. So there's definitely that factor. But then, like at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't control if like an editing file that I've been working on just like crashes, which makes me have to restart the process. But even still, there is still that like sort of guilt, because like I said, like they're waiting for it and then you don't deliver.
That's understandable. Speaking of something interesting with trying to expand like your channel, like what do you think is like a good subscriber count, you think, for someone to consider like having like an editor, or like have one do videos every once in a while type of thing?
Well, obviously it depends on how much the editor like costs. Like I know like the average price, I believe anyway, for like someone editing say like a 10-minute long video. But obviously before, like if you actually want to be paying for that, then obviously you need to be monetized and being able to make more than how much you're paying the editor, or else obviously you're running your channel at a loss. So I'd say I'd probably say like at a very like basic level, I would say but like 10-15k. But obviously for those like higher level editing, like the higher paid editing, I would say like 20 to 30,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, but things like, I will say, even if you're at 30K, around that, it's like, it's okay, money-wise. Like, I've edited for several different people who are around that range, but the thing is, like, one, you have to deal with YouTube AdSense, which I'm pretty sure you know that it can be very fluctuating at times.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent.
And the other thing is, like, it depends if you're being undercut at all, because as someone who's edits for people, it's like, I get undercut by people a lot, but things like, most of the time, those people who choose to go lower, the quality, like, drops dramatically, I feel like, when you reach a certain point.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's the thing. If the editing costs less, then the quality will most definitely be less.
Well, it depends. Like, there are a couple people I know who do a decent job because, like, for example, if they're like in a third world country and the money, at least for United States, or like the euro is worth more than what their current currency is, then I can understand certain people. Like, I think I might have had like one or maybe two people, and it's hard for me to recall at the moment, but I think I at least had one person who told me it's like they're fine undercutting people because to them they can make more for their country. But I do understand because of that I've been running into personal like issues as far as editing for other people because people just expect lower for some reason. I think that's partly why.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like the money conversion like rates as well. The like you said, some countries their like currencies were like worth like a decent portion less than dollars or pounds, euros, whatever. So like I feel like you said, like if they are like that's the amount of money they want and they will like work their arse off for even that amount, then like I said, like they can obviously do a better job than some people who are being paid like more for. But like I'm just the majority, it would be if you pay better, like then the final product would be better.
I will say, for quality, I think around, like, if you're just starting off, like, maybe like $3 to $4 per minute of edited footage. I think that's around where you get pretty decent quality. But if you really want to upscale it, go like $5 to $10 per thing. Like, man, you'll see these really nice stuff. Honestly, like channels that are like at 1 million or more, typically.
Yeah, but
that's
then
still
obviously
kind of low, depending on how short the video is. Sometimes, though.
Yeah, but even still, that's like the thing about like creators that are obviously at a smaller size, because if they're paying like $5 to $10 per minute for like say a 10-minute video, that's like $100 per video, and then obviously if they're not making that much from their AdSense or their AdSense fluctuates 1 month, then obviously they can't afford to do that on a consistent basis.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you want to even start off with that, because people, like, smaller channels have been DMing me about editing for them. It's like, if you want to even consider finding someone, at least $3 per minute minimum is what you should aim for, because anything lower than that, quality is gonna get very iffy to an extent. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
there's a couple people who edit for me for lower, but the thing with is like, one, it's either a different type of content, so it's like something that's fairly like repetitive, for example, and it's just like a preset that I'm asking to do, like with some of the manga scrolls and the One Piece what ifs I do. That's basically someone who I commissioned to do the manga scroll for me, because there's just so much that has to be done. But at the same time, even though it's a bit lower than average, at the same time, it's just one preset. And most editors would be fine with that, typically.
Yeah.
I've talked with, because it's the same edit that you're asking for, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. So really, it just like depends on the person, depends on the currency, depends on the style of video they're editing. Really, on how much a certain quality would cost.
Well, it's like what you're looking for, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we can. Let's see. I guess I could ask you about what inspired like your writing style with how you do what ifs. That'd be interesting to talk about.
I feel like my writing style was like a good mix of like all the channels that inspired me, because like it's not like too similar to one, but it's like I feel like it's, like I said, a combination of like all of them. It's like there's some of Salad Saiyan in there, there's some of Smugstick in there. Obviously I'm not as skilled at script writing as they are, but there's definitely like, if you watch one of my videos, you could like just see that like hint of like their style inside of it. Like I've even had some comments recently from my What If Goku's in My Hero Academia series, like just saying they've like felt a bit like it was a Salad Saiyan video, which obviously I take as a massive compliment, but I feel like it's definitely just like a combination of the channels that inspired me.
Do you think there's a certain point where like smaller what if content creators, or even bigger ones to an extent, take too much inspiration from a person?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, I've even done that before. There was this like one video that was like inspired by, I think, like one of Coffee's videos, and then like after I finished like making the video, I then like went back to like Coffee's and I realized that they were way too similar. So even like after it was uploaded, I literally just deleted it because I was just basically just stealing their content per se. So there's definitely like the fine line between how much you can actually be inspired to the point where it's just basically stealing their content.
What would you do in a scenario if someone's stealing your content? Do you have any like way you would handle that?
Well, I'd first try just settle it nicely. Obviously, I'll just like comment their video asking if they could please just like take their video down, or like at least credit me, man. Like if you're gonna steal my content, which obviously I would obviously want you to take down, but like if you don't even credit me as well, like come on. And then obviously if they don't take down the video, then obviously I'd have to get into trying to take their video down like through the YouTube like copyright systems, because obviously if they're stealing content, like they didn't make it, like say someone just re-uploaded my video, then obviously I just can't have them doing that.
Do you think with the type of content we make, it gets very tricky
Oh yeah,
copyright wise because we don't necessarily own the properties? We're essentially remixing them to an extent.
yeah, definitely. And also just because like the type of content we do, the what if, like people, there are times where people could just have like a very similar idea to you, like very similar idea of how the story goes to you. And then there's like that final, like you're not sure if they did actually like copy you, or if they did just like have that same thought process as you did. And then especially like you said, like we don't own Dragon Ball. We don't own Dragon Ball, like, what if? We don't own the ideas we make. Like, my What If Goku Master Kaioken, I don't own that idea. There's many people who did that idea before me. So, it would definitely have some issues there with copyright.
I do think it's important though that we kind of make it clear we obviously don't own it. Like it
Yeah,
should be obvious for people.
yeah, and it should be obvious. We definitely don't own any ideas. Like, even if you are like the first person to make an idea, you don't own that. You don't have the right to tell people that they can't also like use that idea.
Yeah, it's understandable. I think we can end things off here. I've asked all that I've had. Is there anything you want to talk about here towards the end, or you want to promote your stuff here? I guess up to you. Your way.
Yeah, sure. I'll just promote my stuff. I don't really have anything else to talk about, so. Yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe to my channel, Sacred Saiyan. I'm sure if you're watching this, then you probably know who I am since it has my name in the title of it. But if you're not subscribed, then subscribe to it. Also, subscribe to What If Universe. You know, he's underrated, man. He needs to get to 10k. You haven't got 10k, right?
No, I'm not.
No, okay, yeah. He needs to get to 10k. All of you right now watching. If you're still somehow watching the video, however long we are into this, subscribe right now, and if you don't, then I will come and smack you across the face.
Oh,
But yeah, I think we can end it off here.
Anyways, always remember, at What If Universe, there are endless possibilities, and I'll see you in the next thing.